everyone, Bindu here for Crafty Meraki. Welcome to the Meraki Craftober brand new release Inspiration Hop. I'm so glad you're here and I'm excited to share my project with you all today. I will share all the details about the hop, the giveaway, and the prizes later on in the video, so stick around for that. I'm a huge fan of foiling on acetate, so no surprise, I chose a foiling on acetate clear card for my project today. For today's project, I'm working with these gorgeous new release products. First one is called the Christmas flower. This has, no surprise, the poinsettia flower in different shapes and sizes, along with the two leaves in different sizes and the flower centers, so that you can layer on the flower on your project. Next up is this tag die, which is called Mary, and this cuts out the tag shape, the word Mary, which kind of looks like a tree. I hope you can see that. It looks like a Christmas tree. And also it cuts out the two words Christmas and wishes. So this tag, you could use it just to build your gift tags and say Merry Christmas on it, and that's all you need. Next is this gorgeous foiling plate. It's called Under the Mistletoe, and it foils a gorgeous mistletoe pattern in the A2 size. This last die that I'm working with is called Parisian, and it was part of one of our previous releases. I love combining old and new products in any of my projects, so you'll see me using a mix of products. This one is called Parisian. It just adds the gorgeous stitching detail onto your panel, and it cuts out the frame, the border around the background itself. I'm starting off with the Spellbinders Color Essentials cardstock assorted pack. I'm gonna pick out a red, a pink, and a green colored cardstock that I'm gonna die cut using the Parisian die that I just showed you. I'm using the Parisian die as a way to add texture to my Christmas flower. And you'll see this is the panel that the die cuts out. I am going to now use these panels to cut out my Christmas flower shapes using the Christmas flower die. So here I'm using some of these dies. I'm gonna add them on top of the background panel, and I'm gonna die cut the shapes out of this cardstock that already has the texture. I wanted to, like I said, add some more interest and add some texture to the dies, which is why I'm using the textured panel and then die cutting my flowers with that panel. So here's my die cut flowers using the Christmas flower die, and there you can see the texture on those flowers. I wanted to add more interest to my flowers. So I cut them out using the red, the pink, the green, and I just die cut out a bunch of pieces using those colors which already had the texture on them. I also cut out some leaves in pink and red just so that I can add more dimension if I needed, and I used also some glitter cardstock to cut out the leaves in green, and the centers I die cut using gold glitter cardstock. This next part is to add even more dimension and depth and interest to the Christmas flower, but you could skip it if you like. I am taking some pink fresh inks in the pink color. I have Sparkling Rose and I have Bubblegum colors. I'm going to slightly blend the color on top of these die cut flowers to give them a little bit of texture and more color on them. I'm sorry I lost the footage for the part where I was doing the ink blending on the pink, but I followed the same steps. Here I am blending Mermaid Cove ink on top of the green cardstock that I die cut. All I'm doing is I'm just going around the leaf edges. I don't want the color in the center. I just want to add a little bit of color to the edges of the leaf shape. So you'll see me going around. I followed the same steps for the flower petals as well, and I just ink blended the areas around the leaf just to give that extra dimension and depth. Here's a close-up of the flowers and the leaves with the color blended on top of them. I'm simply going to set these aside now, and then I'm going to move on to my next step, which is working on the acetate. I am using the Spellbinders Glimmer Specialty Clear Film Sheets. These are pretty heavy, pretty thick acetate sheets, and they will make a great card base all by themselves. All I did was I cut the film sheet in half vertically, and now I am scoring down the middle at 5.5 so I can make a top fold card. This next part is also optional, but I feel like I get best results when I tape my foil plate to the acetate, so that in the process of moving from the machine, the glimmer machine, to the die cutting machine, they don't move, and I get best results. But you could skip it if you like. So I'm taping on the background foil plate, to the acetate. And I will insert the red foil in the middle. But first, I have to cut out my red foil. This is Spellbinders red foil that I'm using. And I'm using the Spellbinders foil trimmer, which is a lifesaver. I have trouble cutting foil with the scissors, so I just use the trimmer. Now I'm going to insert the red foil pretty side down facing the foil plate. And I'm going to try my best to make a smooth sandwich between the acetate, the foil, and then the foil plate itself. I ran it through my glimmer machine first, switched on the timer, let it run, and then I put the whole sandwich in my die cutting machine and I ran it through. And now is the moment of truth. I'm going to peel off the foil. I think this is the most magical part of foiling. I'm going to peel off the red foil to reveal the pattern, the mistletoe pattern on the acetate. And there is the gorgeous mistletoe pattern on the acetate. Next, I'm going to put this aside. I'm going to move on to my die cut for the word Merry, which goes on the card front as well. I am using the Merry tag die and the Tonic Studios mirror card. This is called Inca Gold. I'm going to die cut it using the mirror gold cardstock. I also cut out a handful of Merry word dies using just plain white cardstock. I'm going to show you where those are going to go as we move on, but for now I have 4 die cuts using white cardstock, and I have 1 using the Inca Gold Tonic Studios mirror card. As you can see, I am using the Barely Art fine tip glue, and I'm adding a little bit of glue to the gold die cut word Merry. I am using a cutting mat to line up, using the grid to line up my word die, and I will make sure that I have it centered. This way it's clear, my card is clear, and I can see the grid through the card. I'm gonna set this aside to dry. I am sandwiching the acetate in between 2 cutting mats so that there's some pressure on top of the acetate while the glue dries. Next, I am going to add some more dimension to the Christmas flower, and I'm going to try to curl the leaves just so that the flowers don't look flat. I want to add more dimension, like I said. Like Laura Basson says, dimension is life, right? So we gotta honor that. All I'm doing is, you can do this with a brush as you see me here doing. You can do this with the craft picker tool, anything that's round, even a pen. All I'm doing is I am just pushing down the pen onto the petal as I am trying to curl up and outwards on the petal so that the petals kind of curl in and out at the same time. Hopefully that's making sense, but you see here what I'm trying to do. That's the goal, is to get the flower to look like it's lifting off of the card and it's not flat on the card. So this is what it looks like, and I'm going to repeat that process on all of these flowers, the small ones as well as the big ones. I am using some pinks and some reds as I'm going to layer them. I'm going to use a combination of pink, red, and green, as you'll see in the end result. But I'm just going to keep all of my flowers ready. I'm going to have these curled edges and I'm going to keep them ready for the final card assembly. So here's a look at the flower that I'm sort of assembling on my work surface here. I'm gonna use, like I said, layers between red and pink. I'm alternating and I'm trying to put the flower together here. Next, we're gonna move on to the leaves, and we're also going to try to curl them similar to the way that we curled the flower petals. I'm using my brush again, the back end of the brush, watercolor brush, and I'm simply using the same motions. I am trying to curl the leaf as well, the same way that we did with the flower. You just want to be careful not to pull too hard on the paper so it doesn't pull off, but that's what the end result would look like. So now on to the most fun part, which is let's assemble the card and get the final result ready. All I'm doing here is I am checking my placement, trying to make sure I like the arrangement, I like the layering. So I'm trying that out first before I put glue down on anything. Once I'm happy with the placement, I am now going to start gluing the flowers together, layering them. I am simply dabbing on a tiny dot of glue on the back of the flower. I don't want to add too much glue. I'm just going to add a tiny little bit, and then I'm going to take the flower directly onto the acetate where I'm going to try to glue it. Once I'm happy with the position, I'm just going to hold it down, press it hard so that the flower can stick to the acetate. I'm going to continue layering. Like I said, in alternate, I'm going to do the pink, red, and then pink again. I just want to make sure that they don't look all piled up together. You want to add more dimension by turning the flowers, as you saw me just now doing. Just turn them around, add more texture, add more depth to the flower. Here's what the layered flower looks like on the card front. I have finished gluing together the flower petals that I wanted to add, and now I'm going to move on to the leaves. For the leaves, I am going to glue the top of the leaf to the bottom of the petal. I don't want to add glue to the bottom of the leaf and attach it to the acetate because I'm trying to avoid showing glue through the back of the acetate as much as possible. So there's a close-up of me trying to sandwich it in between the petals. This way, I don't have to add a backer to the inside of the acetate. I'm trying to show as little glue as possible on the inside. I don't want to cover up this gorgeous flower on the inside. I just want to leave it with showing as little glue as possible so I don't have to add any more texture to the back. I'm going to continue to add the smaller leaf in the same way. I'm going to attach it to the bottom of one of the red petals so that way the glue doesn't show. And I'm also adding more red. I felt like my card needed more red. So I'm adding more red petals / leaves, if you will. I got the leaf dies on the red cardstock. So I'm going to layer them. I added glue the same way. I'm trying to sandwich it in between the two petals so that I don't have to have the glue show through on the back of the acetate. So here's a look at the card so far. I got to this point thinking I was going to stop, but I felt like my card needed more green. So I went back and I added more green leaves to the other side of the card, as you see in the final result. Here's also a look at the inside of the card. This is what I meant by don't want to have glue show through. As you can see, I did away with as little glue as possible. I think the only place I have glue is underneath that pink petal. So I feel like I could get away with it, I'm not going to add any more to the inside of the acetate except for covering up the word Merry, because I had to use a lot of glue to make sure the word Merry was actually glued secure to the card front. I'm going to now glue on the inside of the acetate my word Merry reversed so that the glue is hidden in between the layers of the acetate. I originally die cut 4 Merry words using white cardstock, thinking that I was going to add 2 to the back side of the card so that you could write a sentiment. But when I looked at this card the way it is right now, I felt like I did not want to add anything else to it on the inside. I am not sure exactly right now how I'm going to do my sentiment. I am thinking about perhaps I will add a white note inside the card that's not attached and just give it to the recipient. But I felt like this card was so beautiful as is that I did not want to add anything more to it, with the exception of, like I said, the green leaves on the other side of the card, which I felt like it needed. I am just adding the flower centers to the flower itself that I cut using gold glitter cardstock. I'm just going to add them to the center of the flower, and I'm going to add the leaves on the other side, and then it's time to finish up our project. So I finished adding leaves to the other side of the card of the flower, and now I'm finishing up with some gems. These are the Rainbow Illusion Sparkle Gems from the Crafty Meraki Sparkles line, and I am simply adding on some gems. I added a few on the flowers, I added a few on the leaves, and that's gonna be my finished card. So while I'm gluing the gems on to finish my card, let me give you the details about the hop. So we are giving away the entire full release of Meraki Craftober to one lucky winner who participates in this YouTube hop. All you have to do to win is subscribe to my channel and leave a comment. Leave a comment on as many of the stops on the hop as possible to increase your chances of winning. I will randomly pick a winner from the comments left on all of the channels for the grand prize of the full release. I will be announcing the lucky winner here on YouTube as well as on the Crafty Meraki Instagram on November the 5th. So come back here and take a look to see if you have won the grand prize. In the meantime, I hope you have enjoyed all the inspiration that all the talented ladies have shared on the hop today. I hope you are inspired to create, and I hope this gives you a kickstart for all of your holiday projects and holiday card making as well as gift giving. Please let me know in the comments who sent you here today, whose channel you're coming from, so I can thank them properly, as well as please leave your comments and let me know what you thought of the products. Let me know your comments and thoughts. I love reading your comments. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope to be back here soon with another video. Until then, stay happy, stay crafty. Bye!